Hey y'all, this is Alex Glover, SMU volleyball player, and this is the Sideline Show.
Everybody, listen up!
It's the Sideline Show.
Won't go! Rebound box! Back out to Allen! His three-pointer! Bang! Everybody's ready to go! He's ready to go! I'm ready to go! And you're ready to go!
Introducing now the host of the Sideline Show, Jackson Prince.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? You are watching The Sideline Show, and I am your host, Jackson Prince. And today I have a guest that I'm super excited about. She's one of the queens of NIL, except for some reason, not super publicized except by herself. It actually really surprises me because I look up to her in content, I look up to her in D1 athletics, and all of that stuff. I have Alex Glover. Alex, how are you?
I'm good.
Awesome.
Excited
I appreciate you doing
here.
this.
Yeah, so excited.
Yeah, no, I mean, you're at SMU, so for me, I was already back home in Duncanville, so it was a quick shot across town.
30-minute drive.
Yeah, 30-minute drive. I was able to get in with you, so I really appreciate you doing this.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming here. We're in a library, y'all, just for some context right now. So
yes, we are.
Got a nice little audience out there.
Yeah, basically a live audience. It's cool because now I can actually make this a mobile thing. I can take it with me wherever I go. So that's been awesome. Like, I'm really fortunate to be able to do that. So, yeah, no, but so you just finished your fifth year.
Yes.
What are you up to now?
So I'm actually doing some NIL consulting, something I didn't know was kind of in my back pocket. I'm doing that for women's basketball and women's volleyball this upcoming season for SMU, which is so exciting because I'm really passionate about it. And I feel like a lot of student athletes just need a little bit of help and resources to know about personal branding and just how to get NIL deals. And I've been through it. I know what it is from that student athlete standpoint of how hard it can be. Right. So I'm super excited to help with that.
You recently had a post, and unlike most people, I actually read through the whole caption.
Thank you.
But it was some of your tips or things that athletes tend to forget or not think is important when it comes to NIL. Talk about some of those.
I think the first one is I think a lot of people when they think about NIL is collective money or getting a brand deal for thousands and thousands of dollars, and there's no work behind it. There's no personal brand behind it. They just think, because I'm a good basketball player, I'm a good volleyball player, I'm going to get all of these brand deals and the money's just going to come to me, which for a lot of people is not the reality. There is a lot of hard work that comes behind it. There's studying, there's thinking about those resources that you have, maybe some networking and some outreach. And I just think there's a huge misconception that people are just throwing these student athletes money, which isn't it. I think another big one is that you can just post whatever. Some people maybe overpost their basketball content or volleyball content and then you know nothing about them. Right. And it's okay, when that's gone, then what are people going to want to stay for, if that makes sense? So I just try to make sure that people know you have to create a personal brand for yourself, and it doesn't have to be something where you post every single day or you're always on social media, because I get that that's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but you do want to make yourself relatable and help people know you outside of your sport.
For sure. Man, that's a really good answer. And that's something I feel really strongly about too, is the personal brand side of things.
Yeah.
Because for you, the fact that you're in volleyball, media-wise, sometimes you get overlooked.
Right.
And then me, being a freshman, being a walk-on, sometimes I get overlooked. Right. So in this NIL space, attention is very much currency. So what are kind of the pillars to your brand? Who do you want everyone to see Alex Glover as?
Yeah, I want to see myself as relatable. So someone that doesn't put on this front. I try to keep it real during my day in the lives that it's hard. It's hard to be a student athlete. There's a lot of work that goes into it. You're tired probably 99% of the time, and it is glorious when you get to play and you get on the court, but there's times where you're not playing. There's times when you're missing tests and taking tests on the road. It's not as glorious as everyone makes it out to seem. Now it does have its benefits, and I tried to be also very transparent as that, but I feel like that's just something that I wanted to show in my life. And right now I'm in a transition period, so I'm also showing hey, I'm not a volleyball player anymore. I am doing more stuff for my personal brand, which is still volleyball because I'm working with volleyball, and that will feel always be a part of my identity, but it's not only my identity, if that makes sense. So that's kind of my pillar, is just being super transparent of what's going in my life and updating people on what's going on in my life. Also, I've gotten into more of like the influencing content creation side, which I feel like is a little bit different from the student athlete brand side. And just being transparent with that too, like going to events and meeting people who don't really understand, you know, like they're like, what do you do? I'm like, I do sports content. Like, I know you probably don't understand what that means. I'm not like a beauty influencer or a lifestyle influencer, but yeah, I think my biggest pillar for me is transparency.
Yeah. So it's really funny that you say that, because I try to explain to people that I'm a basketball content creator.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, so you do like shoe reviews and stuff. And while that's part of what I do, it's not what I do.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, so you must be like a star player on the team. No, I'm not actually. Because I redshirted, I haven't logged a collegiate minute yet. But, you know, I was at Texas, right? Like, won some state championships in high school. Like, I have something to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's always really funny how I'm supposed to explain myself to people.
Right.
And, like, really show them what I do.
Right.
How do you navigate that? Like, what do you tell them that you do?
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard. So I try to kind of make a joke out of it. I'm like, so I do content. I do consulting for NIL. I'm in school. Like, I just like give a list of all these things because I don't want to box myself in. I'm very flexible and, you know, kind of the jobs that I take. I do hosting and emceeing at the basketball games, which is also something different. So I've started to say I'm just like a sports media personality. So it's like all of that encompassing itself. But I don't want to box myself in and, you know, tell someone I'm a content creator and then they're looking for like a host or a sideline reporter and they're like, well, she said she was a content creator, you know? So I'd rather just say I'm like a sports media personality.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. And I mean, that's literally what you're doing now, because you're not even, you know, just a volleyball player anymore. I always laugh when I see your videos, because you'll be in the bathroom and it'll be like day in the life of a washed up D1 volleyball player. It's so funny to me because the term washed up and the fact that you make it a comedy thing. Yeah. And I mean, you're not washed up, but like you're done.
Right. I'm done.
So yeah, no, that's really funny. Are you going to Athlete Gone?
I am.
Yeah, I am too.
Miss Sam Green, that's my favorite person in the world.
Tell me about her. Tell me about what she's done for you.
Yeah, so actually I met her right when NIL started. She was working for this platform called Market Price, and it was one of the first platforms that I was on, and she was just kind of my ride or die. She would always pitch me to brands and be like, hey, we have this student athlete that works really hard, makes really great content, like you should look into her. And I just remember one of the bigger deals that I did at first was a coach deal, and that was through Market Price, and she had kind of like pitched me to the brand and said, you should take a chance on this girl, you know? And I did that, and ever since then I've always had like meetings with her, and she always just like spitballs content creation ideas to me, because I feel like it's nice to have someone who has that fresh idea, you know, outside of yourself, because we're constantly thinking about what's the next thing, and it's like maybe I didn't see something that someone else saw that I can do a spin on. So she's just great. We've done a bunch of stuff together. We've done the NIL Summit together when she was with Market Price, and I just love her.
Yeah. How was the NIL Summit? Because I think they recently followed me, and I might end up actually going to that. Yeah. But how was it? What was that experience like?
Yeah, it's good. I've been 2 years now, and I'm also going this year because I was nominated for an award, but it's good. It's definitely, I feel like, more of a networking opportunity for you to meet like other student athletes. I'm not sure how it is this year, but in the past there's also been like brands there and like different panels, and I did a panel last year, and I think those are super informative of just like hearing from people who, you know, have done it. They have like professionals come in too, like not just student athletes, which is super nice. Like last year they had a Lululemon brand ambassador, like a track athlete, Olympic track athlete. So that was really nice to hear like her talk about how she deciphers what brand deal she should be working with, and, you know, what's worked for her and what hasn't worked for her. So I think it's great from like an informational standpoint of trying to, one, build those connections in a network, and two, just getting more ideas and kind of just sharpening like your resources.
Yeah, for sure. That's super cool. What about, is AthleteCon kind of the same, or have you gone yet?
No, this is the first year.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Okay, cool. No, I'm super excited to see what that's like, because I'm talking to Zoe at athletes.org.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm talking to her.
Yeah,
I'm talking
that was
to
my
Sam.
roommate.
Really?
Yeah, at NIL Summit, that was my roommate, Zoe.
Seriously?
Uh-huh.
Small world.
Yeah.
Small world. Yeah, no, Zoe's super cool.
Yeah, she is.
And she's been kind of contacting me about different stuff. And
Yeah.
no, I'm super excited to go.
Yeah.
It's in Charlotte, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Athletes.org is great too. You should definitely start working with them. They're
Yeah.
great.
I joined recently, and I talked to Zoe, and I talked to I forget the other guy's name. He's a football coach at North Carolina. I forget his name, but he's been really cool about having me work with them and just all the different resources. So what have you done with athletes.org, or like what do you view them as?
Yeah, so they're just an organization, again, like a resource organization to kind of, I think they educate a lot, which is what they've kind of brought me on to do, is do videos like educating. Like they had me do a video on my brand template for what I send brands and emails and what I like DM them. Another one was like how to negotiate your rate. So I feel like it's those questions that student athletes want to know, but don't really know where to get it or like who to ask. I also did a partnership with them on a survey that was coming to SMU, like a rate your school survey, which is pretty cool. But I feel like everything they're doing is so neat. They're even like, if you did the survey, you got a $50 gift card, like trying to give people something, you know, for their time, like student athletes, which I feel like is a big part of their mission, is like making sure that student athletes are getting something out of their time.
That's super cool. Yeah, I mean, and they were kind of telling me the ultimate goal is to unionize collegiate athletes and kind of be like the players association. I think that's super cool, because then we can go to the NCAA and say, hey, this NIL restriction needs to get lifted, or you know, these transfer rules should be in place. And actually making our voices heard as athletes, I think is super important. And I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah. I think it's hard. It's definitely hard with all these new rules coming out. I feel like NIL is always changing. Like there's always something new every other week. I think they're doing a good job of trying to ground that and trying to listen to the student athletes rather than all of the, you know, representatives or maybe administration that are kind of pushing for different things, which is like, it's not about them, you know, it's about the student athlete and like us finally getting what we deserve.
So do you have an agent?
I do now. Yeah.
You do now?
I haven't always.
Really? Okay. So I saw a post, and I think you actually collabed on it, and it was saying that you had the most number of NIL deals out of any collegiate athlete in the country.
Yeah.
Why is no one talking about that?
It's crazy. Okay, the weird thing.
It's insane.
The odd thing is I didn't even know that. Like
Yeah.
I didn't even know it until it came out one time, and I was like, wait, that's weird. And then all of a sudden I saw like different articles, and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
So what the heck? And then
Like
I started,
the highest number in the country. That's insane.
Yeah.
From a
Especially,
volume perspective, you're the GOAT.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. I just got my agent after season, actually. So those were
Really?
all that I got on my own. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how did you get all those deals on your own?
I think at first, when I first started NIL, when it came out, I did a lot of outreach.
Yeah.
And I'm on literally any platform you can name, I'm on it, you know, and I'm applying like all the time. If I see something come up that I'm interested in, I'll apply. And I think that I've just done such a good job and built a rep for myself that I do answer my email. Like I pride myself in answering my email extremely quick. Having fast turnarounds for edits, you know, if people ask for reshoots or whatever. And, I think that's something that a lot of athletes kind of miss the mark on, is being quick. And I think a lot of it does come with, you know, the time constraints and all of that. But these brands want to work with someone and get content out that's someone that's easy to work with. And I've heard that from so many people, that I'm easy to work with. And most of the people I work with now from those platforms are people that I've worked with in the past. So they just keep bringing me new deals.
Right.
So I feel like it's kind of like building that rep up for me is how I was able to do so many last year.
So I'm on Open Doors, but what are some other like bigger platforms? Because that's not something, like I do a lot of outreach too, but for me it's like Instagram DMs.
Yeah.
There was probably a 6-month period where I was sending maybe 100 DMs a week.
Right.
And it, like I got the template and like all
How
that
did that
stuff.
go for you?
It went pretty well. I would
Okay.
say 1 out of every 6 that I sent, I would actually end up doing the deal with.
Okay.
So I feel like that's pretty good, considering at the time when I started, I only had maybe 4,000 followers.
Okay.
And now
That's
I'm up
really
to
good.
almost 60.
Yeah.
60K. So yeah, I mean, I was able to just kind of do that.
Yeah.
And as I've gotten more followers, I think the deal percentage has gone up. But I mean, that's how I was able to do something with like Proactive and KFC and like,
That's super
yeah,
dope.
no, I mean, it's cool. I didn't know what I was doing.
Right.
But I had a guy who was actually at UT.
Okay.
Not an athlete, not an agent, nothing. He was just like, hey, I used to work with Chris Brickley, big time basketball trainer up in New York. I used to work with him on his marketing team, and this is what he does. You should do it too.
Yeah.
So it's super cool to actually hear that you did the same thing.
Yeah.
What did your kind of template look like in a very rough fashion?
Yeah. So I think at first I would just reach out. So I've also, now that I've gotten more into like the influencing side and not as much as like NIL brands, I reach out to a lot of PR firms also.
Okay.
Just saying like, hey, can I be on your list for events? Any like giftings, any exclusive opportunities you have, and they'll usually just add you on. You just have to email them. So I have for my DMs and emails, usually my template looks about the same, but in each DM or email, I tell the brand what I like about them.
Yeah.
And if I have used the brand and have pictures or videos with me using the brand, I'll attach that too. And that's always been like, that's something that's always been like super successful for me.
Yeah.
Is because the brand can see, you know, you really do love this product. You really do use it. And it's as easy, like, you know, me and you are making the day in the life. Sometimes you don't even think about some of the snacks you're taking from the locker room and like stuff like that. It's like, I have it in my video right here. Like, why not just, you know, send it to them? So
yeah,
it's pretty simple. Just like, hey, this is my name, where I'm from, what I do, kind of how many followers I have. And then this is why I want to partner with you.
Yeah. No, that's very similar. For me, it's like, you know, hey, I'm Jackson Prince. I have this many followers on Instagram. This is how many accounts I reach per month. Same thing with TikTok, just like basic analytic stuff. And then I tell them, hey, I like this, this, and this about your brand. Also, I have a podcast.
Right.
Here's the link. And the podcast helps. Yeah.
Links always help because I have a portfolio too with not all of my brand deals, but a couple of them from each like different section, like beauty, health, fitness, just so they can see the type of work that I do, because sometimes it can be a hassle for brands to go to your Instagram and they have to scroll down and, you know, see all that stuff in your TikTok. Okay. So it's like, I have all of this stuff here in a one-stop shop. So it's not going to be a hassle for you to go through it and try to find what you want to find. The
way I did it was, I thought about making like an NIL CV kind of, but right now what I have is like, what is it, like a story highlight on my page, and it's just partnerships.
Well.
Yeah. So I always try to just send the link to that story highlight.
Okay, cool.
And so that way they'll be able to see it.
Yeah. That's like the same thing. Like same idea of having them, you know, just go straight to a place instead of sending them to this general area. Then it's like they have so many people that they're probably looking at, you know, and just try to make it easy on them.
So how do you find the emails? Because I've been trying to go for more emails because Instagram DMs are so hard to get responses on.
They are.
So how do you find that?
Because a lot of time in Instagram DMs, you'll even get the generic, you know, Instagram DM, like, thank you for reaching out. We'll reach back out. I hate that.
I hate it so much.
They never see it. But for emails, I'll just look up either on LinkedIn, Google, like let's say it's coach marketing rep or coach brand partnership rep, and I'll email them and I'll say like, if this isn't the right person, then please let me know. A lot of the times too, if you go to a brand's website, it'll tell you who their PR group is.
Right.
And then you can just go usually
to the PR group.
Right.
So there's a lot of research behind you. Well, now you're at the point where you can be very selective about your NIL deals.
Yeah.
Me, it's like, I think I'm still in the stage where I'm kind of just throwing spaghetti noodles at the wall and seeing what sticks. Eventually I'll get to the point where it's like either they're coming to me or I'm being super selective.
Yeah.
Because there are brands that have reached out to me that I just won't work with because I don't think it's the right fit.
Right.
Regardless of the money.
And that's a good thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think
it's tough.
Yeah. It is tough, especially in the position that we're in. Like, of course we want to make money, but sometimes it doesn't look good for your personal brand. Like,
right.
I decided not to, especially while I was playing, I didn't do anything CBD, and there's a lot of CBD companies. And, you know, after I did, because now I'm not playing anymore, you know, and it's real. I'm an adult now. I can do it, but especially keep like maintaining your image while you're playing and have a school kind of backing you is super big.
Well, I've had even like non-alcoholic beverages, but that taste like alcoholic beverages.
Right.
I've had some of those companies reach out and I'm like, it's just not my thing, man.
Yeah.
Like I get it's non-alcoholic and whatever, and that's great what you guys are doing. It's just not my thing.
Right.
So yeah, well, how important is that you structure the brand right from the jump?
Yeah, I think I'll go back to the CBD one. So they had asked me to partner after I finished, and they had asked me to do like an ointment and like a sleeping CBD pill, and I straight up had to decline that one. I was like, you know, I don't really use CBD as a supplement. As a topical, I don't mind because I do deal with joint pain, you know, it's very organic, but like as a supplement and like trying to put you to sleep, that's just not something that I have used. So I always try to make sure that I'm super transparent in what I would use for myself. Also, I do have to realize I have a lot of kids following me, you know, I don't want to put anything out there that if I had a kid, I would want them following someone who was doing, you know, alcoholic beverages. There's a lot of people, especially since I've graduated, who have reached out about doing like energy drink, alcoholic beverage, 21 plus. And I'm like, yes, I can do that in my own life. I mean, like we all know that I'm old enough, you know, to do that, but the 13-year-old following me isn't, so I'm not going to endorse it.
Right.
And I'm not even going to encourage that, you know.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And I tell this to people and they're like, oh, but you know, you have the luxury of being specific because you already get paid for doing NIL and like, I'm not making any money, so I need to whatever. And I was the same way from the jump because when I'm reaching out to companies, they would refer me to another company, you know, a smaller one.
Yeah.
But that brand isn't what I want my brand to be associated with.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, the luxury thing, everyone's like, oh, you have 60,000 followers. It's easy for you to not work with a brand because they'll just keep coming after you. You know, it's like, I don't know how to explain that to people.
Yeah. It's definitely, you have to set yourself up the right way too, whether you have 2,000 followers or 60,000 followers, because the people who are seeking you out now can also go see what you did back then. And there are companies that are not going to want to have an athlete or a brand ambassador that does a bunch of alcohol or tobacco or whatever it is, you know? So it does matter what you do when you don't have as many followers also.
No, for sure. And while they're socially acceptable, when you're building a brand, I mean, certain things you should stay away from, even if they're offering you $5,000.
Right.
And that goes with not even just CBD or alcohol. Like I had a friend, he got offered like $5,000 to make 2 posts about this mayonnaise brand.
Okay.
And I asked him, do you even like mayonnaise? And he was like, no, I don't like mayonnaise. and I'm like, then why are you going to do the deal? Right. Because now you're the mayonnaise guy. Everyone's going to be expecting you to eat mayonnaise.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing that happened with me and KFC. Like I do like KFC. I mean, you know, it's cool.
Right.
But everyone's like, oh, like, why are you going to Chick-fil-A? Like, aren't you a KFC guy?
Right.
It's like, all right. But that's just now how people associate you. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So I guess with you being very selective about the brands you work with is important.
Yeah, I am. And I think one good thing about me is that I have a personality where I'm like the KFC Chick-fil-A thing. Like, yes, I love KFC, but I also love Chick-fil-A. And that's something that I'm also very transparent about in my videos. Like, I'll go back to the CBD thing. I do use the topical, you know, but I also may use something else, you know, for a different type of pain and stuff like that. So I always try to keep it open with also keeping the exclusivity and the competitors out of it, because you have those pieces of the contract usually. But I try to be very well-rounded in that sense, but also not promote anything that I wouldn't use myself.
Yeah. So you do a lot of, you know, we're very similar in the fact that we also do a lot of non-NIL content where it's just for our audience or just for fun. And like, we've gotten to the point where both of us like to post.
Yeah.
How have you kind of grown in that from day one to now?
Day one, I will say I was very scared to post. I was very scared of judgment. I was scared of my friends. I was just like, I was one of those people who would only post like my favorite picture, you know, it'd be like once a month or once every couple of weeks. Right. And then once I started creating content and I saw how supportive people were around me and how much my audience liked it, then I started loving it even more. Right. So I feel like it was a period of time, a very sticky, like uncomfortable period of time that I had to get through to now where I'm like, I could post once a day or, you know, multiple times a day and I'm going to get good feedback and I'm going to have people that support me and want to help me, you know, but I wouldn't say it was that way at first. I think it's always scary taking that leap of faith and putting yourself out on social media. But if you act the part, one day you're going to be the part. Right. Yeah.
Right. And it's funny because in the early stages when I really decided, hey, this is what I'm going to do, the rate at which I posted, I mean, I probably posted 6 times a week for a few months.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, Jackson, you're posting too much. You ever gotten that?
I have.
Yeah.
I have gotten that. And I feel like sometimes I do still get that. But I think once you get to a point where you're doing a lot of brand partnerships and also trying to have your personal brand and also want to post a lot, it's very hard to not post a lot, if that makes sense, because you have those brand partnerships. Let's say you have like once a week or twice a week. It's like, okay, well, I know I want to get out 4 reels this week, 4 to 5 reels, but 2 of them are brand partnerships. I don't want to just have those brand partnerships on there. I also want to create my own content. So now then we're getting at a lot of content, you know, and it's like, I'm going to do it because I also want my audience to be excited for my posts. I don't want them to think, you know, oh, there's 500 brand posts coming this week and she's not creating any content, you know? So I think that there is a give and take, but I do get that sometimes, you know, you're like posting too much or like, I always see your stuff, you know, and sometimes it's not even malicious, but it is.
Right. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. So it's gotten to the point now where I'll be out in public, whether here or in Austin, and someone will be like, oh, you're the guy from Instagram or you're the guy from TikTok. Yeah. And it's always really interesting because it used to just be, oh, you're the guy who plays at Duncanville.
Right.
And now it's, and then it was, oh, you're the guy who plays at you're the walk-on at Texas. And then it's, oh, I love your TikToks. Right. Love your Instagram reels. Like, can I get a picture?
Right.
That puts the biggest smile on my face.
Yeah. It always gets better because, yeah, especially I'm so excited for you to continue to like play and, you know, go through your career because you'll gain like, this past year of volleyball, I had so many supporters that would even like just come to the games that weren't even at home, you know, and that's just like such a heartwarming feeling. It's like they actually care about me other than volleyball, and I'm excited for you to like experience that as you know, continue to play and stuff. But it's a lot of fun and it's very rewarding. For me, it's like the kids, I just love them. I'm like, when you see somebody kind of looking up to you, whether it's just like content wise or volleyball wise, I'm like, that is just the best feeling ever.
Well, it's cool because my entire life, no matter how good I've been doing, what I've done, I've always gotten this feeling of like, I haven't done anything. And I got it from my dad, because my dad used to always say like, whenever I got a big win or had a really good game, he'd look at me, he'd be like, good job, but you haven't done anything. I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm in this mode where no matter what I do, I haven't done enough. Yeah. But those moments, it's really cool because I'm a 6'6" white kid who's playing a sport that like 6'6" white kids don't get to play. Right. So yeah, no, I always really enjoy those moments just because, I mean, fans are super cool.
Yeah. I think for like content creation too, you can get stuck in that I'm not doing enough, you know, because there's a lot of comparison in it. Like this person, there's always going to be so many, like another athlete that has more followers than you, or, you know, has a better brand deal than you, or maybe has something that you want. And I think that can be that can also cause a creative block because you're thinking about like, I'm not doing enough. And then that's when you get like the bad content and like the stuff you're just putting out to put out. Right. So I do think that it's like this cycle, especially in us content creators, that it's like, I could be doing so much more, but I feel like sometimes it's really good to sit down and just think overall, which is those moments that you get with the kids, you know, or like maybe the supporters that come to your games or the person who pulls you off the street and says like, oh, I know you from Instagram. Right. That's when you're like, wow, okay, I'm right where I need to be.
What I'm doing is working.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I mean, it happens with me all the time where I'll look at something you post and I'll be like, man, like, that's really good. Like, I wish I would have done it before her. And like, well, because sometimes you'll get really good engagement. Sometimes you won't. Right. And I don't just do it with you. I mean, I do it with Leo, who's on the track team. Yeah. I do it with Sam Hurley, who's on the track team at Texas. I mean, I do it with Brandon Dwyer, the kid at Florida Gulf Coast. Yeah. Like, I do it with him all the time. And it's just like, I'm constantly, because that's pretty much all who I follow is like my friends, my family, content creators, other athletes. Right. That's it. Yeah. And I'm always just seeing y'all's stuff, and I'm like, man, these people are killing it. Like, they're doing so much better. And then I'm like, Jackson, stop. Yeah. Like, run your own race.
Right. Yeah. It's like your own timing, and I think it's also hard to compare yourself to someone who's also doing another sport. Yeah. Which I found because I'm like, a person who's doing track may have a little bit more access than I do at volleyball practice with 20 other people. You know, like they can go to the track by themselves and run their own practice, put their camera up, and there's really no one interfering. It's like for a team sport, you know, it could be a little bit harder because it's like, okay, for volleyball, I know I need someone else to play with or like something, you know, to at least toss to me. You can't be in there by yourself, but it is very hard. Also for track, there's no branding, you know. For basketball and volleyball, we're inside the court and there's branding. I'm like, okay, can't come in here and, you know, do a brand deal or a partnership. So I think it is easy to compare yourself to other sports and other student athletes, but I try to get out of that habit because it's very different also.
Well, track, I mean, everyone, when you're training for track, everyone knows what you're doing. If you run the 4x1, you're running, I mean, you're running the 4x1.
Right.
Like that's what you do.
Yeah.
But with basketball and with volleyball, you have different sets and different actions and like basketball more so than volleyball. Because like volleyball is pretty much the same kind of thing, but there are different variations to what you guys do. So having cameras in practice is super taboo.
Right.
But in track, it's like, if you're a high jumper, what are you doing? You're high jumping.
Right.
You're
doing jump training.
It's
you're
not.
sprinting.
You're not running offensive sets. So yeah, it's super interesting how certain sports can get content that we just can't get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that branding issue has been something I have always struggled with.
It's hard, and that like even when I get those brand deals that are like, okay, we want you to do something on the court, I'll have to rent a court, like literally pay to rent it to use it because like I can't be in, you know, SMU's court and we have a huge pony at the bottom, you know, and then SMU volleyball on the tape, like there's no way around it here.
Yeah.
So it is that extra like step and that extra hassle, but those ones are always like the most fun where you can incorporate, you know, your sport actually into the brand deal and do that, but it definitely is different from sport to sport. Yeah.
Have you had like I mean, it's hard to say because you've done so many, but have you had like a favorite brand deal?
Yeah, I've had a couple. I think one of my favorites was the Meta Empower program that I did.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, those, like, I still talk to those people and like the girls that were in the program, and I feel like we were just a special group, and that's kind of when I first started to really skyrocket with NIL. So I feel like that really boosted my career, which is really nice. And then I did a Kellogg's Frosted Flakes one.
Oh, that's fire.
Yes, that one was so much fun because they actually brought the licensing from SMU.
Really?
So I was able to do it in the gym, yeah. And that was the first time that I was going to be able to do it. So those two are like the ones that come to mind. And then I also did like Ulta Beauty, which to me is like a huge brand, like Sephora, you know, like something that I've shopped at. So it's always cool to have like brand deals like that where you're like, wow, I would have never thought.
Well, that for me, the Proactive deal was really cool.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's what I used.
Yeah.
Like I take skincare seriously.
Uh-huh.
Like Proactive was something that I used when I was 14 and having acne all over the place. Like I actually used that, and then to get that deal with them and actually use their products.
That's so cool.
I mean, no, it's super cool.
How did you reach out to them?
I reached out to them. Yeah. And I was like,
that's even more cool.
No, I know. And they were, what was it? I reached out to them and they said, you know, we'll send you a gift or whatever. Like, you don't have to post anything. If you want to, cool. But like, just for being a fan of the brand, we'll send you a gift.
Yeah.
Obviously, I made a bunch of content around it. And then they were like, oh, wow, okay, you're actually really good at what you do. They started reposting my stuff and commenting on everything. And like, so I mean, now I'm actually working with them on some different ambassador things.
That's
and it's
so cool.
No, I mean, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I don't have necessarily like a favorite brand deal, but hold up. Your Academy trip.
Oh my God, I forgot Academy.
Please
I forgot
talk
Academy.
about that. I actually hit them up when I saw that you were on the brand trip. And I've been talking to them a little bit because I'm trying to get the Academy deal. Yeah. That would be sick. But talk about that trip. That looks so cool.
Honestly, I feel so bad I didn't even say them. Sometimes stuff just flies over my head, but I love them. So it actually started off as a one and off deal. And they came back after that. It was through a platform. They came back after that and was like, we want to work with you again. Worked with them again. They came back again and was like, we want to do a third video with you, you know? And it was with the same person. They were like, we just love working with you. We love your professionalism. So I was like, cool, bet. So he just called me one day. He was like, hey, can I like set up a call with you? So I was like, that's kind of weird, you know, because we've been emailing back and forth and I've never gotten on a call with him. He was like, actually, academy is like doing this women's retreat and they want to invite you. Like, would you be interested in going? He's like, this is the first brand trip, you know, that they're ever doing. And most of the people who are going are their brand ambassadors, not even, you know, their content creators or influencers. So I was like, whoa, you know, like I've never been on a brand trip, never even really had time, you know, with volleyball and school, but it worked out extremely well. It was such a good experience. Like, I love the academy team. And it's just like how that was a testament to me also. You know, when you get your like moments where you're like, okay, I've done enough. That was it. I'm like, even after I'm done playing volleyball, and this started off as one partnership. Now they're flying me out to do this week trip. And, you know, now we're donating money to like a charity and giving back and making content around it. And there was no required deliverables. They just wanted, like, literally were like, come with us, you know? And I was like, that is so cool. And literally, I hope to work with them for a long time from here on out because they're great.
Yeah. No, awesome. That I was watching because you were posting stories every day.
I was.
And I was like, it got to the point where later in the week, I was like, let's see what Alex is up to. Like,
right.
I'd go and I'd be like, oh man, like yoga in the morning, and then like all this stuff. And Freely, that brand that you were also posting, that's a clothing brand.
Yes, it's a clothing brand at Academy.
Okay.
So it was like both of them in partnership
Right.
doing this, and that's why it was women's, because Freely is women's, and they have like mommy and me stuff. So they had different creators there. They had like postpartum fitness creators. They had a girl with like 100 chickens. They had like a fishing and hunting creator. So it was like
cool.
different creators from different like sectors. And I was their, I believe their only like fitness, like student athlete creator, which was super cool.
That's awesome. So what was it like hanging around creators from other like industries, I guess?
Yeah. So I was the youngest one on the trip across the board. Yeah.
Really?
So it was very interested to see how, you know, they've made it a living. And a lot of them were moms and like kind of did content around their children and stuff like that. And it was interesting to see how your content changes throughout phases of life. And I felt like it was comforting to me because I think when I was in volleyball, I was sometimes nervous, like, what am I going to make content about now? You know, are people going to care about me, you know, now that I'm graduated? But that was so comforting. Like, they've had their followers throughout every transition in their life. And it was just like, okay, I'm in a transition too right now, and I'm still doing really well. Like, it just made me honestly more excited for like the future.
That's sweet. So is there, I mean, for you, it has been a smooth transition from like NIL to brand partnerships.
Right.
And I've always wondered how certain athletes would be successful with that. And the people who are just athletes, when they're done, like it's done. They don't get brand partnerships. Like, that's not a thing, because why are you important at that point?
Right.
When they can go get a kid who's a content creator.
Right.
So that's why I like the personal branding so much, because it goes so much further.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree. I feel like if you don't have a personal brand, or your only personal brand is that you're an athlete, when that's over, it's over. Like, all of it is over. You know, you're going to have so many people unfollow you because it's like you're not doing what they came to your page for, which is why I'm so passionate about helping people build that personal brand, because it doesn't even have to be like I said, a post every day. But like, if you have a passion, then you can show that, because you're always going to have that passion, you know? So I think the personal branding is a big piece that student athletes miss out on. And I think that's also why we see a lot of student athletes leaving their sports and then coming back, you know, like a year or two later, you know?
Oh man.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that angle of it, but that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it's just always something I've been really passionate about. I mean, did you start doing it when NIL became a thing, or were you doing it before?
So I was doing brand partnerships before, but I wasn't able to say that I was at SMU or that I was a volleyball player. And I was able to do that because I did modeling and acting when I was in high school, and I was contracted under an agency, under a modeling acting agency. So all they needed when I came here was like a proof of work. Like, you can't just say, you know, that you were doing it. Right. So they needed a proof of work, and then I could continue to do the influencing, you know, but I couldn't as far as it came to like backstory, giving people a backstory, there was no backstory because I couldn't say it. Right.
So what's the difference between, you know, when you didn't have an agent to now you have an agent? Because I take pride in saying I don't have an agent.
Yeah.
Like, I facilitate my own deals and all that stuff. But I imagine for you at some point, it became a headache to do it. So it's just a lot easier now.
I think it's a lot easier because of the negotiations. Like, I don't have to do any of the, for the most part, like meetings and like I think once you get to a certain point, and you probably know this, you'll get a lot of like spam, and
Yeah.
you won't know if it's like a real deal or is it like someone just with an idea, you know? And I think at the point where I'm at, where I'm constantly, you know, having different partnerships go on at different times, I can't decipher, and I don't have enough time to sit there and take meetings with everyone. So for me, it's more of like, they meet with people, they'll outreach to people that maybe I can't reach to. And hopefully, like if you get an agent, they'll also have other clients on their list where you can be leveraged maybe into some of their connections if you have any similarities with them. So that's super exciting.
Well, shoot, with all those deals you got and how time consuming it is, I feel very special that you hopped on this podcast.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
This is great. Like I was watching some of your other episodes, and I was like, this is really good. And I like podcasts a lot. I feel like not a lot of student athletes do them. Because it isn't the easiest thing to do, you know, and you have to have the right
You're telling me.
Yeah, you have to have the right eye for it, you know, if like because you have to catch someone, especially how you're repurposing it to Instagram.
Right.
Like people's time span is very short, but you've done a great job of like, I'm gonna go through all of them and watch them and, you know, see what each athlete's saying. And I love how you have like different athletes of different sports.
I try, and that's why a big thing for me is getting the ratios right, because I don't want to have too many basketball athletes or too many males, because, you know, I mean, it's just at some point you got to have variety.
Right.
So I try to pick my spots and alternate episodes and go across industries. And like, I mean, I recorded an episode with a woman who dubbed herself like an NIL strategist. And I actually haven't been able to post hers yet, but like I try to have a lot of variety in the podcast, and I just love doing it, honestly. I mean, this is my favorite form of content, because while the editing takes longer, it's super easy to set the cameras up. I just hit record and then we just talk. Yeah. And like right now, like we're building a relationship and the cameras are on. Right. So I mean, we're killing multiple birds with the same stone.
You're super good at it too, because I feel like I've been, you know, on a couple of different podcasts just over my whole career. And yes, I've had my fair share of like great ones, but I feel like you can tell when someone is like sitting there with a list of questions and it's like, so, you know, like, what are your plans? And it's like, okay, now I have to give a business answer because you don't even, like, you're not even connecting with me at all. So.
And who wants to listen to that?
Yeah.
It's tough to listen to it because I don't like being robotic. I like not knowing what the next question I'm going to ask is. Right. I mean, you got a lot of interesting stuff to talk about. I'm not going to go through and make everything you want to say structured. Yeah. And like here in a second, I'll ask you if there's anything else that you want to talk about. Yeah. And like, I mean, we just talk. Right. And it's super cool because I get to reach an audience who loves college athletics, who loves personal branding, loves NIL. And while I'm not the biggest name, I get to tap into other people's audiences, and like I get to bring on people like you who are older, have done a lot more interesting things.
Not more interesting.
No, I mean, an Academy brand trip in and of itself is cool.
That was pretty cool.
The Influencer NIL Summit, super cool. Like, I mean, I see the things that you're doing, and I'm like, okay, how did she get there? How can I get there? Right. Because I mean, you got that stuff to pin to your profile, and I'm just like, it's like motivation. It's right. Yeah. And no, I mean, I really admire the people that I bring on the podcast. Yeah. I take a lot of pride in, I've had a lot of people ask to be on it. I mean, probably 200 people have asked. Wow. I only bring on people that I truly admire in some way. Yeah. So yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on. And
yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for saying all those nice things.
Yeah,
too.
no,
it's nice because I always question whether or not I'm doing this the right way.
No, you definitely are. Like it's interesting, and you would definitely know because I feel like the feedback that you get from your podcast too is always super well. Yeah, and you get a lot of engagement and a lot of viewers. Like I literally have been asked to come on some podcasts, and I mean, everyone starts from somewhere, but I'm like, if you're consistently getting 30 views, it's something's not working. Right. Yeah. Right. So it's like you definitely have an eye for it and like what people want to know and see. So
yeah, thanks. And I'm trying to take down that YouTube space. You going over there anytime soon, or are you on it?
If TikTok gets banned, I'll definitely be over there.
So are you monetized on TikTok?
No. Well, you mean like, am I in the
creator rewards program?
No. I used to be it, but I was it's nothing.
It's nothing. Yeah. I thought the the money would be a lot better.
Yeah.
But to get a qualified view is
it's awful.
so difficult.
And it now has to be like over a minute. And it's like, it's too much. I'm like, I don't even want to stress out about this. And then I heard like sometimes if you're in that fund, like they'll take down your views. I'm like, see, it's not even worth all that for a couple cents.
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's cool in the beginning to see a dollar amount attached to your videos. But I mean, I'm worth a whole lot more than $20.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I like sticking with, I mean, I've been so much more successful on Instagram anyways.
Me too.
The algorithm just likes me more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The reels are booming these days.
They are.
So I try to post those as much as I can. YouTube is just hard because the horizontal to vertical. I tried YouTube Shorts, but
it's tough though.
A minute.
Yeah.
I'm like, see, I've trained my brain to do, a minute and a half for Instagram Reels.
Yes.
And now I'm cutting it down to a minute. And then TikTok's telling me more than a minute. So it's like 3 different things.
What do I do?
On.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, I mean, I want to take down the YouTube monster. I know it's going to be a slow grind, a lot slower grind than Instagram and TikTok. But I don't know. I mean, one of these days, podcast will catch the traction I want it to.
Yeah.
And I mean, it'll be a roller coaster from there. But
honestly, it's good that you have all these different, forms like iPhone and cameras and stuff, and you could just.
Yeah, I mean, it's all portable. It's all right here.
Yeah.
I mean, brought it to the SMU library. I did not think I would be recording here, and it's funny because I actually almost went here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
it must be soundproof in here because people have not looked back.
Yeah, people aren't really looking. I mean, they look at us because they see the cameras and the microphones.
Right.
And they're probably like, "Oh, that's Alex."
Oh my god.
But yeah, no, I mean, this has been a ton of fun. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome.
This has been great.
So, anything else that you want to add?
I don't think so. I'm super excited to see what you do, and
awesome.
Honestly, super excited to see what I do too. It's an ever-changing world, and it's fun.
For sure. And I'll see you at AthleteCon.
Yeah.
And we'll make a lot of content together.
Yeah, in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm so excited. For that.
Now I got to think of ideas of what we're gonna do there.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
For sure. Awesome.
Perfect.
Well, to everyone out there, make sure that you go follow this absolute NIL branding volleyball superstar. She's a super interesting person, and there's a lot that we didn't get to talk about, but we'll definitely be making more content together very, very soon. So I will have her Instagram and her TikTok down in the description. And with that being said, whether you're on the court or you're on the sideline, go with God and always do your best. Peace.